Laugh hard.
Run fast. Be kind. Doctor, I let you go.
A new man stands in the tattered clothes of the 12th Doctor, eyes wide. Slowly peering around the damaged control room, the Doctor's new eyes lock onto a display monitor, and he quickly steps toward it. Grabbing the screen in both hands, he peers at his reflection. His eyes somehow widen further as he brings his hand to his cheek and slowly slides it up toward his hairline. Running his fingers through the bright orange strands, the Doctor takes a step back, bewildered.
I'm finally...
A wide grin stretches across his face.
I'm finally young again! Ha ha!
The Doctor spins around in a moment of glee and jogs up the stairs of the console room toward the now fallen bookshelf.
It seems I've made quite a mess of this place, haven't I? Look at this! Books strewn about, papers everywhere. Oh, my chalkboard took a tumble.
The Doctor pauses for a moment before twirling back around to face the TARDIS controls again.
Hang on. Am I still the sort of man who talks to himself? Is that a bad thing? Then again, I've been getting so introspective after regeneration recently. Maybe I should just let things take their course.
Glancing down, the Doctor sees his tattered jacket and the torn white cufflinks sticking out of the ends of his sleeves. Wildly offended, he quickly takes stock of the rest of his heavily damaged outfit, twisting and contorting to get a clear view of his torso, legs, and feet.
Oh, this is not ideal. I need to fix this immediately.
Marching toward the exit, the Doctor continues to mumble to himself.
I can't believe I've let things get this bad. A man who talks to himself may be strange, but to disregard common decency to dress like some foppish clown. Please stay put for me. I'll be back in 10 minutes to tidy things up. Cheerio!
The Doctor takes a step outside the TARDIS door, but his foot meets nothing but open air.
Oh, well, this is even less ideal.
Tumbling out of the blue police box, he begins to plummet toward the earth a mile below. The wind whips past the Doctor's face for a brief moment of free-falling, before...
Oh!
The Doctor's body smacks against something, stopping him dead in his tracks. Wincing in pain, the Doctor peeks his eyes open, only to see the gargantuan drop toward the earth directly below him. Moving his hands, he seems to find them suspended on something, as if his body is being held up by an invisible force.
Oh?
Craning his neck to look upward, he sees the TARDIS floating only 5 or 6 meters above him, perfectly still.
Oh?
Slowly rising to his feet, the Doctor carefully stands upon the invisible foothold. Peering around, he sees a large city below, surrounded by the wavy hills of an arid desert. Bursting from the ground below, as if on cue, a bright crimson light spreads throughout the city streets. Curving and growing, the lights form a large circle, surrounding alien symbols that wrap around buildings and roads.
Oh.
Craning his head back up to the TARDIS, his smiling face lets out a shout.
Actually, let's make it 20 minutes.
In a Southern California suburban home, a young woman haphazardly tosses bunches of clothes into an open suitcase on a bed behind her. Scrunching up loose handfuls of multicolored leg warmers, she squashes them down into the container and squeezes it shut, pushing down as hard as she can to seal it. It is clearly overstuffed. Glancing up at the walls, she hops up to her feet to admire the strange collection of posters. Claude Van Damme, next to Cyndi Lauper, next to a basket of kittens beneath the Aurora Borealis. Each image is slowly peeled off the wall and rolled up, then tossed onto a pile of belongings littering the bed.
Jesse, come look at this.
Mom, you know I can't.
Jesse, I want to show you something.
Jesse lets out a sigh before reaching across the room to switch off her radio.
Mom, you know I can't hear you with the radio on.
Jesse walks through her living room, holding a large box in her arms, with clothes practically spilling out in every direction. She makes a beeline for the door, but her mother stops her at the last moment.
Oh, Jesse, come look at this. The University of Michigan has this great new scholarship program. I just got the pamphlet in the mail. With your grades, I'm sure you can...
Put it on the pile, Mom. You know that doesn't matter right now.
Jessie weaves around her mother and opens the door beside her, lugging a large box over her blocky 1983 Toyota sedan.
Of course it matters. You're already late for fall acceptance. But if you apply now, you can start in the spring semester next year.
What's your damage, Mom? I thought we talked about this.
She's right. Don't bother her right before her trip.
Jessie's father enters the living room carrying several boxes of her belongings.
She'll have plenty of time to apply when she gets back at the end of summer.
Jessie lets out a groan as she takes the boxes from her father.
I told you. I'm traveling for a year, not just the summer.
Why do you have to waste your time like this? You can travel once your schooling is complete. You don't want all of your friends to pass you up, do you?
Come on, you know how long I've wanted to do this ever since the...
I know. The lights in the sky. But you could be missing out on so many opportunities.
It's more than just the lights in the sky. Dad, tell her.
I think this is Jessie's decision to make. She's a woman now, Min. We can't make her do anything she doesn't want.
Fine. But if you become a homeless panhandler, your city leg warmers won't keep you comfortable in the winter.
Okay, Mom. Don't have a cow. I'll be fine. I'll see you next spring.
Setting the box down in her car, Jessie approaches her parents for a hug.
Make sure to take lots of pictures for me, alright?
You got it.
And don't take any drugs from strangers.
Mom?
Well, I just wanted to make sure you knew.
Pulling away from the hug, Jessie gives a warm smile to both of her parents before turning to step into her car. Her parents wave to her as she backs out onto the street before pulling away and driving out of sight. As she turns onto the highway, Jessie lets out a sigh.
Finally.
Donning a pair of sunglasses, Jessie turns on the radio and leans back into a chair, starting her long cruise down the desert road. Jessie taps her fingers rhythmically on her steering wheel, along to the beat of the blaring music coming from her radio. Her rolled-down windows let in a whipping wind as she flies down the highway.
But what the hell?
Jessie squints, trying to make out something in the distance, a black spot in the middle of the road up ahead.
Is that a person?
As Jessie zooms toward the figure, she begins to get a better picture. The man, wearing a torn and tattered dark suit, is frantically waving his hands in the air, his fiery red hair flopping about as he does so. Standing smack in the middle of the road, he seems to be shouting something, although Jessie cannot hear a word.
Stop the car!
Pretty sure this is one of those druggies Mom was talking about.
Slowing her car enough to make the maneuver, Jessie swerves around the man She can make out his face much better as she passes him. He seems quite distressed.
Actually, maybe he needed help. I should probably...
Jesse's thoughts are brought to a sudden halt with a deafening crash. Her car crumples in a sudden stop, and the airbag launches out into her unsuspecting face.
And that is why I wanted you to stop.
The doctor knocks away what broken glass is left of the driver's side window and reaches in to unlock the door. Pulling Jessie from her chair, he carries her unconscious body a ways away from the now smoking wreckage. Setting her down next to the road, he retrieves the sonic screwdriver from his breast pocket.
No major lacerations or broken bones. Nervous system looks fine. Minor concussion, but you'll be alright. Oh no. That is definitely a problem.
What? What's going on?
Oh good, you're awake. I figure I should break this news to you early, so you have time to work through it.
What? What are you talking about?
I'm very sorry, but it seems in the crash you lost one of your hearts. I'm not quite sure how, but I'm only hearing one heartbeat and...
Oh my god, you are a druggie.
Jessie winces as she rolls over onto her side before slowly rising to her feet.
Oh, careful now. You were just in a crash. You shouldn't try to move around too much.
What did I hit? I don't remember seeing anything other than you dancing in the street.
First of all, that was not dancing. If I'm dancing, you'll know it. As for what you hit, well...
Jessie slowly walks toward a wrecked car, carefully peering around the front at the point of collision. Her fender and hood are crushed, flattened from the front by something that appears to have vanished.
Wait a minute. I hit...
Nothing. Or at least what appears to be nothing. I'm still trying to work out the details myself, but...
Jessie flinches as the doctor takes hold of her hand and leads it several feet forward.
See for yourself.
Pressing her hand into the air, Jessie feels it suddenly stop. A pressure prevents her from moving forward. Some unseen force directly parallel to where her car met its end.
There's a wall here? An invisible wall?
More like a dome, actually. It's covering the entire city. At least 15 miles wide and another mile high. Took me a few hours to slide all the way down here. I'd be worried about the seat of my trousers, but it's not like my whole outfit isn't already...
Whoa. Slow your roll. What's going on here? Who even are you?
Ah, yes, how rude of me. I get distracted so easily, perhaps a bit more than usual now. I am the doctor. Pleased to make your acquaintance.
The doctor extends his hand for a shake, but Jessie just stares at it blankly.
Just... the doctor?
That's right.
The doctor smiles wide and extends his hand a bit further.
Okay, can you at least tell me where you're from? You sound like you're from Britain.
Well, most recently I'm from Belgium, but that's probably not what you were asking.
Has anyone ever told you that half of what you say is complete gibberish?
Every other day. But in situations where your car smashes into a big invisible dome, I'd probably trust the man speaking gibberish. No?
Just the doctor, most recently from Belgium.
Precisely. And you are?
The doctor extends his hand even further, clearly straining his arm a bit to do so. Jessie reluctantly accepts the handshake.
Jesse Ly Tran. I'm from, well, here. Living it up in sunny California. Or so they say.
Great to meet you, Jesse Ly Tran from sunny California. Now, what do you say we get cracking on this invisible dome mystery?
Inside the city of San Jose, in a back alley between two brick buildings, a man hypnotically marches toward one of the walls. Wearing a gray suit jacket and slacks, the man's tie is only partially tied, dangling loosely around his neck as he slowly makes his way toward the wall. His footsteps are muffled, as he is sporting only socks on his feet. A woman follows close behind, wearing only a single high-heeled shoe. Her stride is filled with jagged limping. The world around them is strangely quiet for a city. There are no engine noises, no honking horns. Not a single voice can be heard for miles. Only the rhythmic clacking of the woman's every other footstep rings out. The couple makes their way toward the brick wall directly before them. As the man reaches the wall, he comes to a stop, like a soldier standing at attention. Reaching out his right hand, a red glow emanates from it. A glow of the same hue appears on the wall, forming an alien room. The wall then splits apart, revealing a dark passageway. The two step inside, and the brick wall seals behind them again. Shrouded in blackness, the two descend a long flight of stairs. Their only illumination is the faint red glow of the man's hand, glistening off the wet stone steps. Upon reaching the bottom of the stairs, they find themselves at another wall of brick. The same rune appears, and it slides open to reveal an expansive factory. Rows upon rows of conveyor belts, tubes, and electrical wires fill the dimly lit room. The industrial setting is cold and empty. Slowly, the couple enters the floor along with a large swath of others who pour in from doors all around. Men, women, children. People of all types and walks of life robotically march into the damp workspace.
Welcome, insects.
A humanoid creature sits upon a metallic throne at the center of the factory. His skin a deep maroon. He is draped in an elegant white cloak. Raised above the machinery, his seat swivels mechanically to oversee the entire operation.
Time to get to work, all of you. You'll never ascend with what pitiful effort you've shown so far.
The man points a bony finger covered in golden jewelry. A red crystal around his neck flashes brightly, and the masses of people quickly march toward the machinery. The alien man watches them scramble diligently for a few moments before sitting back in his chair and letting out a sigh. The crystal on his neck continues to glow dimly as the humans get to work.
The strange thing is, there really is nothing here. Truly, properly, nothing. No electric field, no cloak solid object, no gravity manipulation. This whole thing is
A wash?
absolutely stellar.
There's an invisible wall around San Jose that wrecked my car. You can't figure out what it is, and you're excited about that.
Oh, I am truly sorry about what happened to your vehicle. And I suppose what happened to various other vehicles attempting to enter the city. But look on the bright side. This is something completely new, never seen before. Technology this advanced is practically magic. Doesn't that excite you?
I guess it is pretty cool, but you said this is magic? Is that why you're dressed like a magician?
It's simply a metaphor. Sorry for any confusion. Magic, that's just an idea early civilizations cobbled together to make sense of the world around them. Everything in the universe does have a scientific explanation, I assure you. Well, except for the things that don't. As for my attire, I apologize. I normally look far less disheveled.
No biggie. I don't mind. Besides, I think people should be able to dress however they want, even if you kinda look like you live on the side of the road.
Is that why you choose to dress like you're from the future?
Wait, what?
This is the year 1886, isn't it? You're terribly ahead of the curve.
It's 1986. Are you sure you're not high?
Oh, that would explain the car, wouldn't it? I apologize. This latest regeneration is really taking a bit of a toll on my psyche. But speaking of your car, I hope you don't have anything too valuable inside.
What? Why?
Because it seems to be on fire.
Jessie spins around, catching a glimpse of her sedan 50 meters away, lighting up in flames.
No.
She dashes toward her car, but the doctor grabs her arm, pulling her back.
Hey, what are you doing? Oh my...
Oh, I'm terribly sorry about that. But something tells me it will be all right.
The doctor flashes her a reassuring smile before continuing to wave his sonic screwdriver about in the air.
Oh, don't you even start. I have had enough of you.
Pulling her arm away, Jessie walks toward the flaming vehicle.
I wouldn't do that. You don't want to get caught in another... boom.
You'll be glad to know that all of my stuff can only be burned to ash one time. It exploded already. That means all of the fuel has been burned up. Anything left isn't going to combust that violently. At least, I don't think so, but based on how my days have been going so far, I wouldn't be surprised.
Good observation. You're a smart one, especially for the 19th century.
I told you, this is the 20th. Whatever. Either help me get my stuff out of here or leave me alone.
Jessie struggles to peer into her car windows through the smoke and flames.
Oh, yes!
Thanks. Thanks for that. I'm glad you're having so much fun at my expense.
No, Jessie, look! Look where you're standing right now!
Jessie rolls her eyes before turning to face the doctor. She casually glances around for a moment before being hit with a sudden realization.
I'm in front of the car. There should be a wall here.
Yes. Somehow our invisible dome has vanished. At least where you're standing.
The doctor presses his hand out to the side and is met with the familiar invisible pressure from before. Slowly, he paces toward Jessie until his hand slips and falls through a hole in the dome. His eyes light up, and he begins to frantically move his hands up and down the wall from side to side, attempting to understand its spatial aspects.
It's from the car, right? My car crashing made the hole?
I don't think so. When I pulled you out of the driver's seat, I felt the dome. It was still there. But now, it's gone. Tell me, Jessie, which causes more damage? A car crash at 60 miles per hour, or a petrol explosion?
The crash, obviously, all of its force was directional, right at the wall. The explosion went every which way, and it didn't even move the car, right?
The doctor beams at her proudly.
Oh, Jesse Ly Tran, I quite like you. But there's one thing you've missed. The crash had more force, sure. But the explosion was different. It gave off fire and gas and piping hot heat. This wall wasn't knocked down. It was burned up.
Oh, that's so cool, but how can a wall of nothing burn up? You said you didn't detect anything here, right?
When you light a fire, what 3 things do you need?
Well, you need fuel, air, and an energy source.
Correct! Are you a chemistry student, perhaps?
Engineering. Well, I will be, I guess, but what about the dome?
Ah, right. For some reason, my sonic wasn't picking up anything unusual in the atmosphere where the dome is standing. But then I thought, what if there actually isn't anything unusual here? We have the energy and the fuel both coming from your car, so the flames of the explosion only need one thing.
Whoa, really? So that means...
This invisible dome is comprised entirely of air!
Inside the city, the word falls flatly from the blue maw of an alien humanoid as he peers down at his prisoners. 4 businessmen with glazed-over eyes. They look blankly ahead, marching in place. The blue man hovers above them in a floating pod-like vehicle.
I suppose your current directive would prevent you from processing the nature of your entrapment is simple air.
The alien smirks and taps several buttons on a control device on his wrist. The 4 businessmen are slowly pressed closer together by an invisible force before they are lifted off the ground as if caught in a net.
Then again, Had you not been under Chrismin's spell, your kind is still far too simple-minded to understand technology of this magnitude. Impudent little apes.
Pressing several more controls on his wrist, the four men are raised up into the sky, and the blue man's pod follows close behind. They are lifted up above a tall office building before unceremoniously being dropped onto its roof. Landing in a pile, each man rises to his feet only to stare forward vacantly, unmoving. Around them, more than 40 others stand motionless, staring blankly out toward the sky. The blue man looks on with satisfaction at his growing collection of mindless people. But a beeping alert rings out from his wrist device.
What's that? A breach in the barrier?
His eyes rise to meet the skyline, and he stares toward the city's perimeter with a cold, agitated gaze.
There's always another problem to be eliminated.
This is unacceptable!
The alien Chrismin slams his bejeweled red fist onto the arm of his metal throne as it spins around to view an empty section of his workshop.
There should be more. More of you! An entire sector of the city is missing!
Beneath his feet, the human workers continue their project unaffected. With glazed-over eyes and mechanical movements, the enslaved people plug tubes and wires into sockets and fasten panels together with bolts and soldering equipment. Closing his eyes, Chrismin focuses his mental energy, and the crystal on his necklace begins to glow brighter.
All of the missing workers. They're on top of a building? What? How did they get trapped there? Unless... No, there must be someone interfering.
Gripping the crystal in both hands, Chrismin grimaces, focusing with all of his might. The workers beneath him each stop in place. The energy used to control them is now being rerouted for another purpose. The crystal burns white-hot, its red hue illuminating the entire workshop.
I see. One human mind near the city outskirts. And is that... Yes, I sense the minds of two higher beings as well. One is with the human, but the other... Baltico, you wretched. You will not stop the ascension of these miserable insects.
A trail of red runes blasts forth from the mechanical throne, twisting and winding along the ground, up the stairs, out into the streets. Locked onto his targets, Chrismin relaxes back into his chair, and the crystal simmers back down to a dim glow. After a short moment, he sits forward again, annoyed.
Well, what are you waiting for? Get back to work!
With another red flash, the humans continue their robotic manual labor.
Thing is, this sort of technology should be completely impossible to implement.
The Doctor and Jesse continue their trek toward San Jose, alongside the vacant highway stretching toward the city. The occasional gust of wind offers only a slight reprieve from the scorching sun that beats down on both of them amidst the sandy hills.
Manipulating particles on an atomic level. It takes an enormous amount of energy, not to mention computing power. I've seen something like this on a small scale, separating the iron and carbon from steel in a laboratory setting. But to cover an entire city? You'd need to harness the power of a small star.
Not to interrupt, listening to you ramble is actually pretty entertaining, but are you some sort of government spy, like James Bond? You are British.
Not British, not really Bond either. Although I am flattered.
Well, you're not a magician, so if that thing isn't a magic wand, it has to be some sort of advanced technology, right?
The Doctor stops his trek toward the city and whirls around to face Jesse, proudly presenting his sonic to her.
This is a sonic screwdriver. It's seen better days, but it is absolutely advanced technology, thank you for noticing. It uses a psychic link with whoever's holding it to perform a multitude of different tasks. Scan, revert, magnetize, short-circuit, and of course, it turns screws.
So if you didn't get it from the government, are you a super genius who built it yourself? Is it alien technology?
C, all of the above. Now it's my turn to ask a question. Assuming this dome really covers the whole city, how many people have crashed into it, just like you?
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Oh, God, that's heavy. We have to let people know.
Perhaps, but good luck convincing them. I think our best course of action is to get rid of the dome, attack the problem at its source. At least before any planes come to land at the airport. That would be very unfortunate.
Wait a minute, planes? All those people.
Exactly. Although, with an airport this large, it's strange that there haven't been any crashes already. I haven't seen a single takeoff or landing today. And I spent a good while a mile above the city.
You think whatever made the dome stopped the planes too? What is going on in this city?
No idea, but I'm afraid this is where we must part ways.
I'm sorry, what? You made me walk all this way just to tell me to head back?
I do apologize, I've only just realized.
The doctor turns toward the highway next to them and motions toward the city with his hand.
There aren't any cars entering the city, which makes sense. They can't. But why haven't we seen a single car leaving the city?
There's a moment of silence as Jessie turns to look at the vacant road behind her. 2 lanes remain completely empty. There's no sound of movement for miles around them.
No cars, no planes. Mysterious dome made of very stubborn air. And of course we can't forget the glowing red symbols. This situation could get rather nasty, and I wouldn't want you getting caught up in it.
Oh, come on, Doctor. You can't get me all invested in this mystery just to leave me hanging.
I absolutely can. And I think I'm going to have to. Look.
Off in the distance, erupting from the city like a tidal wave, a massive red glow sprouts from the ground. It races along the highway, bright crimson runes appearing rapidly one after another, aiming directly for Jessie and the doctor.
What the hell is that?
Ah, that's right. You haven't been properly introduced yet. Jessie, meet the scary red symbols. Symbols, Jessie.
Before the two can break out into a sprint away from the oncoming images, they're overtaken. The symbols reach the ground beneath the doctor's feet first, and he's instantly frozen in place.
Ah!
The doctor is paralyzed, in pain, but only for a moment. Regaining his composure, he shakily raises his hand up to his temples and closes his eyes in concentration.
Psychic attack, eh? Appears to be affecting the amygdala, the fear center of the brain. Should be easy enough to shut out.
The doctor's eyes snap open and he stumbles forward a bit, released from the psychic attack. He looks up to see Jessie standing motionless under complete control.
I was wondering why I couldn't make out these symbols. The TARDIS can usually translate anything. Turns out they're just gibberish. You hear that, Jessie? These symbols don't mean anything. They're just meant to scare you. The fear response your brain creates, it makes an opening, a vulnerability in your defenses. Then it just weasels its way inside and takes a hold. So we're going to evict it. You and me.
Placing his hands around Jessie's face, the doctor gently presses his forehead against hers, establishing a psychic link.
Jessie, can you hear me?
Doctor, what's going on? Where are we?
Don't worry, we're inside your mind. Something's overtaken you, but we're going to get rid of it. I'm sorry, I really am. But to shake off this infection, we're going to have to delve into your fears a bit.
My fears?
Yes. You need to enter the fear center of your mind. It might be difficult, but nothing there can actually hurt you. I know we've only just met. You probably still think I'm a madman who lives on the side of the road. But I promise, I absolutely swear to you, Jessie, that I'm going to fix this, and that you will be okay. I know this is a big ask. Do you trust me?
I think so. Are you absolutely sure you're not a druggie?
I promise. Now, come with me.
The two float through the vast expanse of Jessie's mindscape, passing by memories, hopes, dreams, and secrets. They slowly approach a dark pit of black nothingness, with only a glowing red light at the very center. As the pit draws nearer, Images begin to materialize around them. Fleeting pictures of students, professors, Jesse's parents, and more.
Doctor, what's going on? Are these my fears?
Yes, but probably not the ones you were expecting. You won't find spooky clowns or spiders or heights here. This is the deepest part of your mind's fear center.
As the doctor attempts to explain, Jesse's eyes dart around frantically, taking in the flashing images forming around her. People pointing and laughing, disapproving glares, a snowy mountain's peak. They all burn into Jessie, and she clutches her head in panic.
These fears, they're deeply rooted, conceptual, symbolic. They lie at the heart of who you are. But Jessie, please listen to me. They cannot hurt you.
The doctor attempts to reach out to Jessie and console her, but she jerks away in anguish. The black pit grows wider, enveloping the entire world around the two of them.
Stop it, please make it stop.
Don't worry, Jessie. We're almost through it. Just hold out for me a little longer.
Placing his hands on the glowing red light at the center of the pit, the doctor concentrates and begins to break its hold.
No, make it stop.
The darkness around them shakes and convulses, and the doctor's grip on the red light loosens.
Gah! Blimey! This thing is strong. Listen, Jessie, I can't do this. Not with your fears in control. You need to focus on happy thoughts, all right? If you can just overcome your fear, we'll be home free. I'll be able to pull this thing loose. All you need to do is calm down.
Jessie grimaces as the voices of mocking apparitions berate her.
No, I can't do it. They're wrong. Doctor, please just make it stop.
The doctor's smile is intense, as if he's enjoying this mental battle with the invading presence. He lets out a grunt through gritted teeth, struggling to hold on to the red light controlling Jessie's mind, before peering back at her over his shoulder. After a brief moment of reflection, he lets go of the light. Floating over to Jessie, he puts one hand on her shoulder and uses the other to gently wipe away her tears.
Hey, Jessie, look at me. I can hear them too, you know? The voices.
You can?
Of course I can. They're quite rude, aren't they? But listen to me, Jessie. I can hear your fears, but I've seen your memories and your ambitions too.
What? Doctor, the voices.
Shh, I know. But listen. You went on this trip. You left home so you could travel the world, right? You wanted to see the Grand Canyon, the Great Barrier Reef, the Eiffel Tower. You wanted to bask in the wonder of the world around you. Isn't that right?
Right, but...
That's wonderful, Jessie. But those are all in your future. Tell me, what's the most gorgeous, stellar thing you've already seen in the whole wide world?
The lights. The Northern Lights. When I was 8, we took a trip, but...
The Northern Lights! Aurora Borealis! Solar winds from your local yellow sun whip and twist through space, colliding with your atmosphere, ionizing and exciting the air particles to create something absolutely magnificent. Jessie, can I tell you a secret? The Northern Lights, the ones you've seen, they're a beautiful phenomenon. But I know a better place. A place where the gases in the sky and the heat of the sun is so perfect. Where the solar winds create more than just green lights. The entire sky erupts in a glorious purple, and the crackling static makes you taste peppermint on your tongue. A light show you can taste.
Really? You can taste it?
Of course, it's fabulous. And when the light show ends and the sun sets on the horizon, all the natives sing a song of celebration and throw a party that lasts until the sun rises again.
That sounds wicked cool.
Yes. Yes, it is. Jessie, Would you like me to take you there?
Really? You'd do that?
Absolutely, I will. I promise. Jesse Ly Tran, I'll show you the most incredible light show in the universe. Because I know you have the soul of someone who'd properly enjoy it.
A wave of wonder and joy washes away the distress from Jesse's face, and the darkness around them detracts, shrinking back into the hole that it spilled from. Her imagination fills its place, picturing the fantastic scene the doctor described. Condensing smaller and smaller, the pitch-black fear is soon swallowed up by the glowing radiance of the mindscape, and the red beacon at its center quietly fizzles into nothingness.
Well, that was more fun than I bargained for.
The doctor wakes up from the mental adventure, now holding Jesse's unconscious body in his arms. She is no longer stiffly controlled by the glowing red runes.
It seems that was a bit too much for you to handle, Well, just a quick nap and you should be right as rain.
The doctor turns his head to look around, only to find a domineering blue alien gazing down at him coldly.
Oh, hello there! Can I interest you in some psychic runes? We aren't planning on using ours.
So this is the rogue element that breached my barrier. You will explain yourselves, now.
The crystal on Chrismin's neck flashes rhythmically as his attention snaps to it.
What? They resisted the spell? Oh, Baltico is with them now. That damned meddling fool. He told me this job was free. No matter. They're all in one place now.
Chrismin glances up at the work floor before him. The conveyor belts have been deconstructed and moved away, making room for the large machine being built in their place. A small metal frame holds up a jungle of wires and tubes, connected to makeshift machines littering the perimeter of the room. The dim fluorescent lights above illuminate dozens of car motors and batteries, all linked together in a network, feeding back into the machine in the room's center. More than 50 boxy television sets lay lined up at the front of the machine, stacked to form a single image comprised of many smaller screens.
It seems, even with the measly scrap this world has to offer, my project has almost reached its zenith. Soon this world will ascend, but I will not leave any hanging threads.
Using one hand to grip the jewel and another to point, a ruby flash of light fills the room, and a horde of enslaved people cease their work. Leaving the pack, they ascend up the stairs and out onto the streets, following the path of runes made not long before. The doctor gently rests Jesse's head on the ground, before hopping up to his feet to get a step closer to the blue man in the floating chair.
Hello, I'm the doctor. As for why I'm here, well, I could ask you the same question. What is a resident of Asylon 7 doing on Earth? In the 20th century, no less. You're quite a ways from home.
I see. Your knowledge exceeds earthling limitations. Yes, I am the technician Baltico of Asylon 7. But before we continue, I must initiate certain precautionary measures.
Pressing several buttons on his wrist-mounted controller, Baltico addresses the doctor again.
Few understand the power of knowledge as well as I. I will not underestimate you, Doctor.
The doctor is stopped in place by an invisible force, which closes in around him. Pressing his arms against his sides, he is lifted several feet off the ground.
Oh, what's this? It's sort of nice. Like a hug from a big invisible friend.
What you are experiencing is the work of my genius. Remotely controlled oxygen particles on a macrophysical scale. Any attempt at escape is implausible.
So you're the one who made the dome. I have to say, I'm quite impressed. Obviously used quite a bit of Artron energy to tear a hole in the quantum field. And you're rearranging the atoms from negative space, all on the back end. That's elementary. But what I don't understand is, how'd you manage to do it over a whole city? Are you sapping up this planet's core for fuel? No, you'd need even more energy than that.
Do not assume so little of me, Doctor. I've overcome the need for such wasteful energy expenditure. Macroparticle manipulation only requires such fuel when used on large and complex atomic units. The fools who envisioned the technology never thought beyond mining and fueling applications. Trivial pursuits.
I see. Your oxygen atoms, they're so much lighter than cesium or uranium. So they only need a fraction of the power to move around. You're a genius! But what about the computations? Surely you can't be using Earth technology. Nothing here would be any help. At least not for another 50 years.
Ah yes, another of my innovations, this very chair. I've modified the artificial intelligence used for spatial navigation to configure the movement of trillions of individual particles. With a few simple commands, I have the power of a god at my disposal.
Tapping the wrist device several more times, Baltico sends a signal out. The doctor, who had been floating this entire time, begins to spin in place until his entire body is vertically shifted.
I'll be honest, I quite preferred the other way round.
Do not think you have me fooled, Doctor. Your seemingly innocent questions were merely attempts to gather information, but I am the one asking the questions here.
You're a self-proclaimed genius. Getting you to talk wasn't exactly difficult.
Enough of this. What is your purpose here, Doctor? Where do your allegiances lie? I will not ask again.
Pressing several more buttons, the doctor's arms squeeze closer to his sides as the air prison around him closes tighter. His face, already red from the increased blood flow, scrunches up in pain.
All right. I'm the doctor, and I'm a traveler. I found this dome by accident, and I just wanted to look around. Especially, I wanted to make sure that no one gets hurt.
A good-natured traveler who wants to keep safe the innocence of this world?
Yes. Discover the secret behind the dome, and the symbols, and make sure that no one gets hurt. That's all.
You truly do take me for a fool, don't you, Doctor? This is your final warning. Explain your relation to Chrismin.
The air's grip around the doctor tightens even more.
Huh? Doctor?
Rolling over, Jessie slowly blinks her eyes open, trying to get a grasp on the situation in front of her.
Jessie!
What's going on? Doctor, why are you upside down?
Quick, Jessie, your pocket!
Blinking slowly as she tries to get a hold of the situation, Jessie glances down toward her jacket pocket. Baltico's eyes track her, and he quickly reaches for his wrist controller.
Not so fast, Baltico. It looks like you've got company.
The doctor struggles to nod his head toward the city, and Baltico turns to glance in the same direction. Down the empty street comes charging a horde of more than 50 civilians, eyes glazed over, red runes adorning their hands.
Chrismin, you petulant little...
Baltico is cut off as an explosion of sparks erupts from the side of his chair. The doctor drops to the ground, landing square on his back with a painful thud.
Oh!
The propulsion system of Baltico's chair hums angrily as it falls several feet, stabilizing just above the ground. Baltico turns to see Jessie, sonic screwdriver in hand, pointing it directly at him.
Why, you...
Okay, that's an alien. I just used a magic wand to stop an alien?
Oh, not a wand.
The doctor recovers from his fall, rolling over and hopping up to his feet once again. He quickly jogs over to Jessie, who confusedly continues to point the sonic at Baltico. The blue man's eyes dart back and forth between the doctor and the oncoming horde of humans, before eventually turning his full attention to the latter.
Stellar work, Jessie. Glad to see you remembered how the sonic works.
You were inside my head. I remember we had to face my fears.
Yes, sorry about that. I usually never peer inside a woman's mind unless I've bought her dinner first.
So that was real?
Absolutely. Tell me, you're really afraid of university? It's not a scary place at all. Actually, I was a professor for more than 70 years. I had quite a nice time.
And that blue thing, it's an alien?
Well, yes. Quite a rude one. He made the dome that wrecked your car. I promise he doesn't represent the lot of us.
So you're an alien too? You weren't joking about that?
Well, you didn't laugh, did you?
At this point, the Horde has made its way to Baltico's chair. They pile on top of each other, attempting to reach his position in the air above them. Their movements are still cold and robotic, but now flooded with a sense of desperate urgency. Frantically pressing buttons, Baltico's eyes dart rapidly from the people to his controls to the smoke billowing from the side of his chair. The tallest tower of people is toppled as an invisible wall of air knocks them to the ground. Another group of 4 or 5 are lifted up off the ground, caught in an air net.
Okay, so aliens are real. You're a real alien. An alien who's been inside my head.
Yes, I have, but we can discuss the details later. Right now, we need to stop those people from getting hurt.
Getting hurt? So, the guy who made the air dome, he's not the one who's doing the mind control?
I'm afraid not. Now, if I could put a pause on the questions for just a moment.
The doctor plucks his sonnet from Jesse's hand and whips it around toward Baltico's chair once again. He activates it, but it sputters for a moment, before the light at the tip dies.
Oh dear, that's some unfortunate timing.
The hand of a construction worker clings to the button of Baltico's chair, and he kicks it away with disdain. Pushed back by unseen walls, the Horde is now spread out, dispersed into small groups that float helplessly, trapped in Baltico's invisible prisons. The last of the mind-controlled civilians is scooped up into the air, and Baltico's chair turns to face the doctor and Jesse. Instinctively, the doctor takes a step forward, standing between Jesse and the alien threat. His orange brow furrowed. The doctor retains a calm smile.
The mind control. That's not you, is it, Baltico?
Affirmative. These mind tricks are the work of my current opposition.
But you made the Dome of Air. You endangered countless lives with your technology.
As the doctor speaks, he and Jesse are slowly scooped up in invisible nets and lifted off the ground.
Affirmative. The potential casualties were a calculated cost, which the benefits outweigh.
Doctor.
And now? What do you plan to do with us?
You will be imprisoned. You shall not interfere with my plans any further.
I see.
Have I satisfied your curiosity, Doctor?
You have, thank you very much. I won't be requiring anything else. Just know that I'm going to put a stop to you, your opposition, and anyone else involved in this ridiculous little scheme of yours.
Oh? You will? I excitedly await watching you try.
Baltico lets out a stiff chuckle as his chair turns toward the city. Behind him, the doctor and Jesse float in tow.
My mom is gonna have a field day when she finds out about this.
Jessie slumps against the brick wall, sliding down to the ground in defeat. She sits facing the doctor, who is absent-mindedly pacing in small circles around their jail cell.
I told you something would go wrong on this silly trip.
I can hear her nagging already.
I'm sure she'll be more relieved than anything. Besides, isn't this what you wanted?
Come again?
This trip. When I was in your mind, I saw this trip. It's incredibly important to you. You wanted to see all sorts of amazing things, right?
Sure, but I was thinking I'd swim under a waterfall or go snowboarding at sunset, not get kidnapped by some blue xenomorph-looking dude.
So, if you had the chance, you wouldn't want to see everything the universe has to offer? Beyond the scope of just this planet's wonders?
I didn't forget what you said, you know.
Jessie absent-mindedly runs her fingers along the iron bars to her right, as she stares blankly past them.
You promised to take me somewhere incredible, to show me a light show better than anything on Earth. With the invisible dome and the mind control and the actual alien, I think I believe you.
She looks at the doctor with disappointment.
But that's not something we can do from inside a jail cell.
The doctor stops pacing for a moment and flashes her a grin.
Don't fret about that. We'll be out of this cell before the day's over, I assure you.
How do you do that? Why are you always smiling no matter what's going on? Is it because you're an alien?
Oh, I suppose I am. Just a new habit I recently picked up, I suspect. I probably got tired of being an angry Scotsman.
Okay, that right there.
Jessie stands up and marches toward the doctor. Sticking her finger in his face, she glares him down.
You've been saying crazy stuff like that all day. You're from Belgium. You're an alien. You used to be Scottish. You won't even tell me your name. Well, now we're stuck in this cell, so we have the time. Tell me, just who are you, Doctor?
Well,
The doctor is interrupted by the sound of clicking metal as the cell door next to them swings open. Baltico floats silently in his hovering chair as a wall of air pushes his new prisoner past the bars. A creature in a white cloak stumbles forward, his various jewelry jingling as he falls to the floor. Jessie stands bewildered, taking stock of his wrinkled maroon skin and cragged, Moor-like mouth.
So this must be...
Chrismin, the mind behind the embarrassing construction project in this municipality.
Damn you, Baltico. You said this was a free job.
Negative. I specified that I had not yet been hired to interfere within this sector. This was always subject to change.
You blasted.
Your release will coincide with the completion of the wager.
With that, Baltico locks the cell door using air and floats down the hall away from the cell. Chrismin grips the bars and presses his red face against them, shouting toward his blue adversary.
I'll tell the agency that you swindled me. You know you can't go back on your word like this. They'll bar you from taking a job anywhere in this galaxy.
Oh, I see. Yes, that makes sense.
What? Who are you?
Tell me, Chrismin, what were you building in this city? Nuclear reactor? Space transport?
Are you working with Baltico?
You see, Jesse, these two lovely gentlemen are hired enforcers. It seems Earth has become subject of a bet. A cosmic gamble between some higher powers with far too much money and far too much free time.
An outsider, You'd best be careful sharing that information. Our agency doesn't take kindly to spreading our secrets.
Yes, well, the Shadow Proclamation won't take kindly to hearing about your existence.
The doctor quickly flashes his psychic paper in front of Chrismin, whose eyes go wide before he attempts to collect himself.
Well, I mean that...
Now that you understand that this operation is on its last legs, it would be in your best interest to take us seriously. My partner and I have a few questions for you.
Turning back to face Jessie, the doctor gives her a wink and a subtle nod towards Chrismin.
That's right. Tell us exactly what you've been building, and the Shadow Plantation...
Proclamation.
The Shadow Proclamation might go easy on you.
Chrismin's eyes shift between the doctor and Jessie before he lets out a defeated sigh.
This planet is currently designated as having moderate to high potential for technological advancement in the next century. My employer, he's placed a bet that they will achieve an artificial intelligence singularity within this solar cycle.
Glancing back at Jessie, the doctor sees her confused expression and does his best to translate.
By the end of this year, this planet's supposed to have a machine with the same processing power as a human brain. Unfortunately for your employer, that's not exactly how things play out.
Which is why I was discreetly hired. A secret from the others placing bets. My agency exists as a way to ensure things go smoothly for our clients. I was supposed to create a machine that fit the qualifications of a singularity, and then convince the humans that they had built it themselves. Clearly, Baltico was hired by an opposing party to ensure the opposite. In just a few short hours, they would have ascended to a higher place among their peers across the galaxy. I was so close. Their minds are so malleable, you see.
So you actually finished a machine? You built an artificial intelligence down here, beneath San Jose, in the year 1986. You are comfortable interfering this much with the planet's development?
It needs only to be powered on. I was merely waiting for Baltico to be eliminated before I tested it. As for the humans, this is the Silicon Valley. Their technological advancement would be seen as extraordinary, yes, but not unbelievable.
I see. And the runes? The mind control?
Quite simple, really. This crystal connects my mind to a network, which I can then use to control lower-minded beings. Every human within this city was under my command.
So why not use it on Baltico right now?
His mind is too powerful. Much like yours, I assume. Besides, I can't effectively use it at the moment. I cannot connect to the network without my throne and its additive psychic field.
Oh, of course! You have a throne too! Poetic, isn't it? Two tyrants, meddling in the lives of innocent people, all for the sake of profit. And they're both nothing without their thrones. Ha! The screenplay practically writes itself.
What about the airport? The airport and the roads. No one was coming into the city. No one was leaving because of you, but why didn't anyone enter the city?
A simple precaution. I reached out to the minds of every human in a large radius around the city. If they planned to come here today, I simply changed their mind. The air transportation, I shut that down too. I simply claimed it was because of maintenance.
So only people planning to come to the city were stopped? Oh wow. What are the odds?
I only came here on a whim. I didn't have a destination.
That's the beauty of the human mind. You say they're lower beings, but you never could have predicted someone like her. Travelling the world for something as simple as unplanned adventure. That's humanity.
So, you're not a member of the Shadow Proclamation?
Nope!
With that, the doctor snatches the dangling crystal from around Chrismin's neck and quickly throws it on.
Weren't you listening? You need the power of my throne for any mind control to take effect.
Of course you do. But mind control seems terribly too rude for my tastes.
As the doctor concentrates, a burst of red runes flies out from the floor beneath his feet, tracing a path along the ground, out the jail cell, and around the corner. The crystal burns a bright red as Jesse and Chrismin watch him closely.
Ah, there you are, Baltico. I know you can hear this, so please come round and give us another visit. I'd be delighted if you could attend.
What do you think you're doing? If he comes back here, he'll just take the necklace too. Then we'll have absolutely nothing.
He's right. Take a chill pill. You don't want to make the guy who trapped us even angrier.
Oh, ye of little faith.
Suddenly, the three are thrown against the back wall of the cell, their bodies pressed against the brick by an invisible weight. Baltico's floating chair enters their line of sight, and his cold eyes angrily snap to the doctor and the crystal around his neck.
Are you attempting to mock me? As if the inclusion of that crystal in your cell was somehow an oversight? Do not be ridiculous. Its abilities are hampered significantly without the presence of Chrismin's throne.
Throne is necessary for sending signals out for miles, but I don't need to do that. Just a little recap for everyone, I promise to make it quick. This necklace sends out psychic signals. Signals designed to communicate and command organic life forms. That controller on your wrist. It takes electronic inputs, which then uses the computing power of your chair to control the air around us.
You are wasting my time, Doctor. I have no oversight in the execution of my strategies.
No? What if I were to use this necklace to send orders to your wrist controller and command the air myself?
You have already specified the flaw in that logic. That primitive crystal technology only commands organic life forms. This device is mechanized.
Oh, right. If only there was some sort of device that could understand electronic inputs, but also function like an organic brain. Oh, wait a minute!
The doctor glances down, and all the eyes in the room follow suit. At his feet, a new line of runes have shot across the floor and out of the cell.
Oh, you sent a signal with the crystal, the AI interprets it and sends it to his controller.
No!
Hello, world. First order of business? Let's have a chat with that controller of yours.
From down the hall, the grinding and spinning of combustion engines echoes forth, along with the soft hum of the machine's many screens. Baltico glares at the doctor before turning his attention to his wrist controller. The controls flash and spin, all on their own, clearly the work of the Doctor's mental commands. The Doctor gives him a wink. As he and the others are released from the wall, the air that trapped them is no more.
Now, I think it's about time we stop this little game. Don't you?
Why, you? I will not be made into a fool.
Slamming his fist into the arm of his chair, Baltico opens up a hatch and begins frantically tearing wires from it. The hovering vehicle stutters for a moment before crashing to the ground. Stepping off of the smoking chair, Baltico presses his face between the bars of the cell.
You played your hand too early, Doctor. With my vehicle destroyed, there is no longer a computational device in this entire galaxy powerful enough to perform the necessary calculations. I will destroy the artificial intelligence, and my employer's wages shall be successful. And after all that, you still remain locked in a cage.
Only angry little tyrants need a throne to rule from. I think you'll find that I have a computational device that's more than capable.
No, you can't be serious. If you try that, you'll burn up in an instant.
What are you talking about?
There are trillions of atomic particles in the atmosphere of this city, Doctor. To calculate the movement of each, with your own mind, it's inconceivable.
Conceive harder.
Closing his eyes, the crystal on the Doctor's neck floods the room with red light. A gust of wind fills the room and swirls across the floor, twirling around the Doctor and lifting him up into the air. The jail bars start to creak and bend, before blasting outward off their frame. Baltico brings his hands up over his head, staring at the Doctor in a mixture of shock and fear.
Sorry about the dramatics. Just getting the hang of things.
The wrist-mounted controller slides off Baltico's arm and floats gently over to the Doctor's hands. Slipping it onto his own wrist, he presses a few buttons and Chrismin and Baltico both lift off the ground, up against the wall.
I've always preferred analog anyway. I think retro might be my style now.
Doctor, what are you gonna do with them?
The dome is gone. The people are free. I say we leave these two here for the Shadow Proclamation to take care of. They'll handle the AI too, make sure it doesn't interfere with the outside world.
So, this proclamation, they're like the space police.
Almost exactly. Come on then.
The Doctor does a heel turn and begins to march away from the two aliens trapped against the wall.
You can't just leave us here like this.
You two have fun now. Cheerio!
Jesse and the Doctor exit the alleyway into the bustling streets of San Jose. The revving of motors and honking of horns fills the streets as confused people stumble back into their daily lives.
Everybody's fine. Just like that?
I made sure to check. Baltico sent everyone above ground once he took the workshop, but I used his air to return everyone safely to the city streets. They might be a bit baffled, but no worse for wear.
So you really saved everybody. Huh.
Well, what about you?
Oh, I'm okay. My head still hurts a little.
Oh, my mistake, sorry. I'm not asking if you're safe. I'm asking, do you want to travel with me?
Oh, right, okay. One trip. But first, you have to tell me who you really are.
How about I show you?
The Doctor extends his hand, and Jesse, after a brief hesitation, takes it. The Doctor grins wide, and the crystal around his neck begins to glow once again. The air beneath their feet ripples, and slowly, the two rise into the air, above the cars, above the street signs, above the buildings, up into the air they rise. Jesse's face fills with wonder, her eyes scanning across the curve of the sandy plains on the outskirts of the city, to the rippling waves of the ocean on the other side. People below them become like ants, tiny specks beneath their feet. as the two pass through several wispy clouds.
Up there is my ship, the TARDIS. She's in quite a sorry state, so I apologize for the mess.
Jesse is barely paying attention. Her arms are spread wide as she feels the winds of the atmosphere whip against her face. She's flying.
After this, you don't have to apologize for anything.
Here we are, home sweet home.
The two slowly stop their ascent before the doors of the TARDIS. With a snap of his fingers, the Doctor opens the front doors. Golden light pours out, illuminating the faces of both figures as they step inside.
Oh, you didn't! This place is lovely!
The Doctor jogs inside the console room, ecstatic. Past marble pillars and red velvet furniture, he ascends the stairs to the control panel. The time rotor, now filled with an ethereal golden plasma, casts a warm glow on his face.
You really outdid yourself this time. Jesse, what do you think?
It's so big. How did you fit this entire place inside a box that small? This has got to be magic.
Jesse remains awestruck, taking in the enormity of her surroundings, craning her head to see the gargantuan ceiling and the alien chandelier hanging from it. She snapped back into reality as the Doctor walks back into the room. Gone are the torn and tattered jacket and slacks. Adorned in a cream jacket over a navy sweater, the Doctor runs his gloved hands across the TARDIS console. Stark white, his gloves match his shoes and slacks. The Doctor is bright.
I suppose it's time I gave you a proper introduction. I am a Time Lord from the planet Gallifrey. I'm more than 2,000 years old. I travel through time and space in this ship, my TARDIS. It's my home. The life I've chosen, it's one of adventure. I live to see the wonders of the universe and help out where I can. My name isn't important. Who I am, who I choose to be, is the Doctor. And if you want, I'd very much like it if you traveled with me.
You mean it. You really mean it.
Of course I do.
Well, then, you owe me a light show.
Light show, right! Purple skies of peppermint. But oh, I've got an even better one in mind.
The Doctor flips several switches and turns a lever, and the TARDIS emits its signature grinding whir.
You're sure this place is even better?
Believe me, Jesse, I'm going to show you something absolutely stellar.
And with that, Episode 1 of our Doctor Who Series 11 redo comes to a close. I want to give a massive thank you to everyone who helped make this project possible. Thank you to every single one of you watching, and thank you to my generous patrons. This is a non-profit fan project, so your support quite literally makes all of this possible. Please consider donating. With that, I really don't have much left to say. I hope to see you back here next month for Episode 2, Wake of the Forgotten Loneliness. Stay frosty.